Welcome to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and on this episode, I would like to say that it is sponsored by you, the viewer, and the listener. That is totally right. You guys are the ones that kept the Square Circle Podcast going for the past 6 years, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you guys that have listened, that have decided to follow the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast, or even follow the Spotify channel, Square Circle Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for following those two channels, and thank you to everyone that has signed up to my newsletter, marieshadows.substack.com, for extra content. And also join us on the Discord as well. And I also have a brand new Instagram channel called Marie on the Mic. Now, as I say thank you to you guys, let me just explain a couple of things. So this episode is going to be reviewing very quickly Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty that happened on January 4th, 2025 and January 5th on 2025. Just very quick thoughts. There will be a tape study series / tape study chatter. The new title is Tape Study Chatter. That is where I will be doing in video format, breaking down the wrestling match of Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega from Wrestle Dynasty, because that was actually a really good match. It delivered, even though I did not enjoy the build-up to it, because again, who really benefits the day after? And it's not really benefiting Gabe Kidd at this very moment. Even though he's still doing phenomenal, he's still doing great, it's not benefiting him. And so that match will get a special attention sort of deal going on. And if you guys don't know, Spotify has introduced the feature of video podcasting. So whenever I put up a video over on Spotify for the Square Circle Podcast channel, you guys can watch the video directly in your phone. And I could also put it up on YouTube maybe. We'll test it out. We'll see what happens. But also marieshadows.substack.com. I can upload videos there too where I explain professional wrestling matches and I break it down and I let you know about the psychology, the in-ring storytelling ability. We could also break down promos, because what I really want to do now is to focus on the other shows that I have created under the Square Circle Podcast banner. So the other shows is Tape Study Chatter. Tape Study Chatter, if you remember, if you were here since day one, was the Tape Study Tuesday that we did over on Twitch. But now it has formed into the Tape Study Chatter, where we get to chat about it and we get to talk about the match. I am also going to officially name all the interviews Marie on the Mic. Hey, you're here with Marie on the Mic with such and such. That would be for interviews. And then also Inside the Locker Room, where I started that, where I was talking about wrestling terms such as workhorse, and I put the question out there, who's a better workhorse? Is it Seth Rollins or is it Jon Moxley? Because there was a time on the internet, especially on Twitter, where we were talking about that, and I created a video about it because wrestling fans don't know definitions nowadays. And it's really sad that they don't know definitions of certain terms and what really makes a workhorse. A workhorse isn't just providing match after match after match after match. How are your matches connecting? Are your matches connecting to different types of stories, different types of story threads that eventually will need to be revisited so that way it could be tied off? Because if you just have a match after a match after a match, what does that do for the viewer? How are they connecting with the wrestler if it's just a match and all you do is moves and all you do is either win or lose? There has to be some type of connection between the match and the fans. And in that video of explaining the word workhorse, I basically said that Seth Rollins is a better workhorse over Jon Moxley just because of everything that gets combined into it. However, Inside the Locker Room is going to be a little bit more than that. There's going to be terms explained, but I also want to use the Instagram live feature to go live with wrestlers and also wrestling leaders in the industry to talk about some of the wisdoms that they have picked up throughout their whole entire career and share that with aspiring wrestlers. My main passion is to also bring back one-on-one consultations as well, to be cheerleaders for indie wrestlers that are coming up, that want me to critique their match, that want me to help them think outside the box and what they could do for their character, and just push them and cheer them on and have them be the best form of themselves that they can be. There's always room for improvement in the world of professional wrestling. And if all you do is argue with fans online, there's a way to tell between the bad ones and the good ones that really want you to succeed. You just have to learn about it. And I'll be giving those kind of tips on the IG channel, Marie on the Mic. But my whole passion is to help professional wrestlers in the back and make sure that, when I say in the back, I mean in the back for like promotions, but also behind the scenes. I should have said it that way too. But my whole thing is to just make sure that wrestlers are good and that they are doing great, that their promos are improving, that their wrestling ability is improving, and that they take it serious. Because sometimes not everyone is able to work one-on-one with a showrunner or a show director that's at the show, and not many promotions have that. So I am lending my expertise and my confidence and my love of this business to help you out if you ever want to do that. You can reach me at any time if you go to the description and the comment section in the YouTube video. And if you want to reach out and have me watch your video and talk about it and give you pointers on how to get better if you want to, or an improvement, or what you're doing good and what you think you should improve on, the links will be all down in the description below. It's still a work in progress, so give me, some patience with that, but it's still a work in progress. We could definitely talk about it. Now, the other thing too is that I did say earlier in this podcast episode that it is sponsored by you, the viewer, the listener, and that is true. That is 100% true, because I need to start pushing the fact that I have merch. The wrestling planner is currently out, and I just love what I do, and I love that I get to talk about professional wrestling with you guys. So it's all thanks to you guys. All thanks to you guys. Also, we have memberships too at Fourth Wall, so you'll be seeing that. Check all the links down below. Now, where I've been on a little break. That's all it is. I've been on a little break. I said that I had reviewed Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty with Pro Wrestle Times, and then I also talked about the whole Chris Charlton thing and Dave Metzler thing with Tooneytown Wrestling as well, and that was super fun. And I enjoy doing both of those. I enjoy doing media. If you want me to be on a panel, then by all means, reach out to me. I was also on another panel as well with JJ Alexander. Now, let's jump into this very quick review. As you know, I do appreciate Wrestle Kingdom more than Wrestle Dynasty. This is the first year for Wrestle Dynasty. I hope they don't have it again because it made no sense. So Wrestle Kingdom 19 started off with the Rambo, Rambo. So what that means is the Rambo is a Royal Rumble style kind of a match where there are two ways to gain elimination before we crown the one person left standing. The first way is throwing your opponent over the top rope. The second way is by pinfall and or submission. That's just the two ways to get eliminated. So it comes down to the winner being Goto, and he gets a future championship title shot at the IWGP Championship. I was surprised that they had Josh Barnett in this Rambo as well. You don't know who you're going to get, by the way. They don't tell you ahead of time who are the competitors. This isn't like WWE where it's like, I am declaring myself into the Royal Rumble. The Rambo is mainly a pre-show kind of deal where they have it as fans are coming in, but they decided to put this on the main card. It really wasn't a pre-show for some reason. After that, we had a wonderful ladder match for the junior tag team titles. We had Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita from TMDK versus Clark Connors and Jilla Maloney from Bullet Club War Dogs and Catch 22, which is TJP and Akira Francesco from the United Empire versus Kushida and Kevin Knight. This was a brutal ladder match The ladders are not made the same way as here in the United States. The tables are not made the same way as here in the United States. Japan has a whole different kind of arsenal when it comes to ladder matches and hardcore matches, and now they are sort of warming up to the idea of having hardcore matches. Just don't overdo it, because New Japan Pro Wrestling is all about tradition, and that's what I like to see sometimes. But to throw in a ladder match, do that too. This was a fantastic back and forth match. Everyone doing something to somebody to try and hurt them. Somebody went through a ladder. Someone did a 450 splash onto somebody else on a ladder. It was chaos. A dragon sleeper on the ladder. Chaos, chaos, chaos. And no, not the NJPW Team Chaos. This whole thing was chaos. Surprisingly, we had Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita pick up the win, and they are the new IWGP Junior Tag titles as of January 4th. Next, we had a match. Next match is the IWGP Women's Championship title match. I know that it got created during the lockdown era, a little bit after that, because the women that say that they love women's wrestling were like, how come New Japan Pro Wrestling don't have a women's roster, but Stardom is their women's roster? They kept getting it wrong, and they didn't want to listen to the experts. And I'm so glad we have moved on from that conversation, because how do you get it wrong so many times without saying the right information? So the IWGP Women's Championship title got created because of that. Now, the only good thing that got created out of that whole entire era, online era, I should say, is the fact that we have the NJPW X Stardom historic crossover pay-per-view where they allow intergender wrestling matches. That's the only good that comes from it. Now, having a women's title with the IWGP name on it is sort of like, well, you don't really feature the women enough on New Japan Pro Wrestling itself, because in Japan they respect the sexes and separate the sexes, meaning males go with the males and females go with the females. So they respect that. And so they end up not really having a showcase for the women, which is okay, because the women wrestlers in Japan are really good at what they do, and they have a whole different style and a whole different storytelling aspect to what the men do, and both of them shine on a very equal playing field. Just because they're not traveling with the men doesn't mean like they're not part of the wrestling industry. They're there, but they just do things differently, and they have set their own path to where you can say, oh, she's from Stardom, oh, she's from TJPW, rather than being like, oh, she's on the NJPW roster. It sort of doesn't sound right. It doesn't make any sense. These women are very proud to do what they do, and they do in a very different and stylistic way than the men of NJPW. But anyway, the championship is created, and Mayu is the champion at this time for this match. And she's fighting AZM, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. What I didn't like about this match was that AZM was hitting Mayu with so many power moves, so many different types of variations of stuff, and being dominant in the match. But yet then Mayu comes out with a butterfly Nelson to AZM and picks up the victory after AZM did all of that work and spent all of that energy. And Mayu is still the IWGP Women's Champion for this match and in Wrestle Kingdom. My only problem is that AZM is a bigger girl and Mayu is a smaller girl. And if you get hit by a bigger girl, you're going to feel that, you're going to go down. I just don't know what they are going to do with the IWGP Women's Championship title. And I know that not many people in the United States care about that championship title because it barely gets talked about. It does get talked about in Japan, obviously, but I can't tell you much about it. And that's a problem. But again, Mayu retains the championship title. The next match is the NJPW World Television title, and this title is for the NJPW World website. where you could get a subscription for $9.99 yen. And these matches are special because whoever holds the belt, it is a 15-minute time limit. And I do like that idea. I do like that the matches are 15 minutes. It makes you think a lot faster. It makes you assess the situation a lot faster when you are in those type of matches. So for this, it's a fatal four-way. We had Jeff Cobb versus ELP versus Ryohei versus Ren Narita. And this was a very hard-hitting match. It was a really good match between all four of them. You know, Jeff Cobb being the tank that he is and dominating. Ryohei coming in and trying to find his feet, so to speak, but doing really good. Ren Narita being the sneaky one because he's from House of Torture. And ELP is coming back from being in remission from having, I believe, cancer. That's what they found. But he's back, he's healthy, and I am surprised that he won this match. And he is the new NJPW World TV Champion. After that, we have the most complicated match there is, which I'm going to explain. It is the retirement / hair match, which is also a lumberjack match. This had Evil taking on Tanahashi. So what happened was that Tanahashi decided to declare that in 2026 he is going to retire from in-ring competition. And my sassy ass was like, yo, it's going to be too late before you do that, because New Japan Pro Wrestling is suffering at the hands of AEW and this partnership. Like, you can't do that in 2026. You should do it now and be like, yo, AEW, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Anyway, Tanahashi was like, I'm going to retire in 2026. Evil was like, no, you're not, and created this match to where at Wrestle Kingdom, if Tanahashi was to lose, he was going to retire from in-ring competition this year. Then we had some more build-up right after that, in which Tanahashi, I guess, had a match or something. He was down. Here comes Evil with some scissors and cuts Tanahashi's hair and basically takes his hair. The crowd didn't like it because the crowd loves Tanahashi's hair. I love Tanahashi's hair too. So during a backstage interview, Tanahashi is like, you want to cut my hair? Well, then let's make it a hair match as well. And I'm like, what? Does that mean that Evil gets to shave his head too if he lost? So on top of retirement and the hair match, it became a lumberjack match as well. That was like the first stipulation for the retirement match. And then the hair stipulation got added on. And I was like, all right, cool. This is the most complicated thing in the world. Why we're doing this. But I will say that the entrances for this match proves why I love New Japan Pro Wrestling, proves why I love pro wrestling in general, because it is storytelling, it is theater, it is everything. It gives you moments. And that is what wrestling is good at. It gives you moments for you to be invested in, for you to come back wanting more. Their entrances were the epitome of what is good and evil. Evil obviously coming out with House of Torture. Everything is dark. Everything is evil. And you can feel it. You can feel the evil from Evil, all puns intended. And then when Tanahashi comes out, it's all white and airy and light. And you can feel the good coming from Tanahashi. You can feel the good versus evil. And since the beginning of time, since we had learned how to talk before we learned how to write, since the beginning of time, we have been passing down stories verbally from generation to generation to generation until we were able to record them by writing them and putting them in books. And we created a thing called storytelling. We created a thing of good and evil. And that is the epitome of it. We did all of that so that way Tanahashi and Evil can showcase this at Wrestle Kingdom. And it felt like a Wrestle Kingdom in that moment. And that was cinema. Their entrances were cinema. Now we get to like the middle of the match, almost towards the ending of the match, and there was some fuckery. We got to talk about the fuckery, because I really thought that they were going to give it to Evil. I really thought that we're going to have like a change and that, Tanahashi was going to lose. Did I want him to lose his hair? No, I didn't want to lose his hair, but I want him to retire early so he can actually be the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And because he'll be the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, he can finally say, AEW, get the fuck out. If not, I would gladly do it if he needs me to do it. Anyway, Evil has Tanahashi in the sharpshooter, and it felt like Tanahashi was supposed to tap, but something happened where that didn't happen, and Evil releases the hold, and they continue to fight for a little bit longer. By the way, when Evil releases the hold, Tanahashi is nowhere near the ropes to get a rope break. That's important before anyone jumps into the comments and say, oh, he had a rope break. No, he didn't. Evil just decided to let the move go. They continued to fight for a little bit longer. And then, out of nowhere, here comes Tanahashi with a small package and beats Evil 1, 2, 3. Seriously, drop toe holds and small packages are dangerous moves in professional wrestling. So that is what happened. After Evil loses, House of Torture comes in and beats up Tanahashi. The guys from Hontai, Hontai, come in as well to protect Tanahashi. But then there's also Shibata that comes down and drives everybody away and asks Tanahashi for a special exhibition match for Wrestle Dynasty, which I would just say right here, it was very disappointing. Very disappointing. Again, Tanahashi wins that match. Next match is Shingo versus Konosuke Takeshita. And this is... oh, man. Just know that Konosuke wins. And he is now double champion for no reason. Konosuke just needs to learn how to create a character, learn some ring psychology, can't always be the big guy, the tough guy, the one that absorbs all of the moves and nothing happens because you're not giving back to your opponent. In professional wrestling, it is a dance between the two opponents, whether they're playing heel, babyface, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. But you have to give and take in the match. You can't just give, and then not really take anything from the opponent and be like, look how strong I am. Bro, it's wrestling. It's meant to be a back and forth tug of war, not a I dominate every single person there is. And for people that hype up Konosuke, man, when are you guys going to take off the glasses and realize he's not as good as you guys claim he is? Now, if somebody wants to drop a different perspective in the comments about how great Konosuke is, please do so. And please do so with some substantial evidence. It is a very high standard to sort of give a different perspective and to change my mind on Konosuke. Konosuke just needs to be polished and nobody is helping him. Like, why does he need 3 contracts? Is Tony Khan not paying him enough? Because Tony Khan has to pay for Mercedes Moné and Will Ospreay, 2 people that are not moving tickets. Konosuke is not moving tickets either. But yet then, Konosuke is allowed to take the Never Openweight Championship title and has done nothing with it since winning it because he's on AEW payroll and he's on New Japan payroll and he's on DDT Pro payroll. And it's sort of like, bro, your priorities are all stretched out. How are you ever going to be good if you're going to be stretched between 3 different promotions? Anyway, next match. We had El Desperado versus Doki for the Junior Heavyweight Championship match. This match unfortunately got cut short because Doki decided to run towards the corner ropes and jump off and do like a somersault kind of thing and land on El Desperado onto the outside. Now, it's very unclear from when I watched it, and there has been no updates about Doki, and I'm like, New Japan, where are the updates at? And it was very weird to look at because El Desperado caught him, they both went down, but Doki seemed to really end up getting seriously hurt because they called for the doctor and they called for a match stoppage. And from what I can see and what I put in my notes, I said that he probably dislocated his elbow or something or knocked himself out to the point where they had to stop the match. And so they stopped the match. El Desperado is frustrated, and El Desperado is our new junior heavyweight champion by way of match stoppage. The next match is the Global Heavyweight Championship title match that saw Tsuji versus David Finlay. I love both of these guys. These guys are very good storytellers, and I really want the best for both of these guys. Do I think that Tsuji needed to go after the Global Heavyweight Championship title? No, not necessarily. Not yet anyway, because I really do feel like Tsuji and David Finlay can tell a really good story with their parallel careers. And the way that Tsuji was going, the way that David Finlay is going, being the leader of Bullet Club War Dogs, that I think eventually their paths would cross. And when their paths do cross, there will be a lot of different types of emotions, a lot of different types of promo points that they could pull from, and they can drag us in and bring us along for every single moment. But of course, New Japan had to like hurry everything up. And as much as I love Tsuji, and I love the fact that he became the global heavyweight champion, because again, championships do need to like switch hands from time to time. I am really happy that Tsuji won. I just don't think this was the right path still. And it was a damn good match between both of these guys. A really, really good match. Now we get to the special match of Naito versus Hiromu, teacher versus student. Some 19, 20 years in the making. And I really think that it would have been really extra special if this match would have happened on Wrestle Kingdom 20th rather than Wrestle Kingdom 19, because then this overshadows what happened during Wrestle Dynasty. And this is where I feel like New Japan Pro Wrestling no longer knows what they're doing in terms of setting things up, because years ago I could have told you that the reason why we are at such and such match is because these two fought each other, these two interfered into each other's matches, and bam, here we are. And then the winner comes out victorious, and then one of their past enemies comes in, because 3 months prior to the two that just fought, you know, all this kind of stuff is happening. I'm connecting the dots. I'm telling you about this and that. I could do that. Nowadays, it just seems kind of hot shot and be like, bam, you know, we're going to do this and that's it. We're going to follow AEW's rule of booking. But Naito versus Hiromu was a really good match, and they know each other. They know each other so well, even if they haven't fought each other one-on-one. But for the most part, they did tag team matches extensively, so they know. And we get to Naito doing the Valentia into Destino, and Naito wins against Hiromu. The next match, and it's the main event for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship for Wrestle Kingdom 19, January 4th, 2025. It is Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shota Umino. Zack Sabre Jr. retains, obviously, and this was an okay match. It was a cool match. It was a good match. Shota Umino needs to find his identity, needs to do something and get rid of what we see him as, what we know him as, and he just needs to find something. It's kind of weird that no one has sat down with Shota and be like, these are the pros, these are the cons, and this is the in-between, and you got to pick and you got to do something. And I do think that Shota Umino is very special. Shota Umino has a fantastic career in professional wrestling and in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's just that he got paired with Mox, and look how that became. That was very stupid to do. Moxley is not a role model for anybody in this business. So yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. retains. On to Wrestle Dynasty and the fuckery of Wrestle Dynasty. So Wrestle Dynasty happened the next day, January 5th, 2025. And I feel like this was a Tony Khan and AEW and everyone else production. However, Tony Khan was not there in Japan, and that says a lot. If you're not there with your business partners, especially those that you call partners and that you love New Japan Pro Wrestling and love Japanese wrestling, and this is the one time where like you could have gone and experienced everything and actually talk to your partners and be like, okay, we're in agreement with this, we're in agreement with that. For Wrestle Dynasty and Wrestle Kingdom, knowing how big Wrestle Kingdom is in Japan, and you don't show up, that is going to be sus. That's going to be a red flag for me, and that's going to be like, you're not really serious about this partnership to help it grow. So New Japan Pro Wrestling, please, by the end of this year, go join WWE, because look how prosperous TNA is doing. Look how great TNA is doing. Look how Noah is doing. And you guys scoffed at Noah when you guys did the whole New Japan Pro Wrestling versus Noah not too long ago. Look how prosperous Noah and TNA is currently doing with their joint partnership with WWE. Tony Khan has already taken your big stars without giving you a moment's notice, without having you guys breathe, without having you guys push any of the younger guys into those positions of the top guys. Tony Khan and AEW don't care about you guys. And to let that slide, for what? You guys are coming out of the deal with a bad hand. There is no give. There is all take, 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 take. So, Wrestle Dynasty. Again, Tony Khan wasn't here. Tony Khan should have been at Japan and Wrestle Dynasty. But here we go. We have 2 matches on the pre-show. We have the Fatal 4-Way Women's match, which was the whole entire debacle of setting up tournaments and tournaments and tournaments and tournaments just to grant a lady a future title opportunity and they get a trophy, and whoever put this together have failed the women. So we have Momo Watanabe versus Willow Nightingale versus Athena versus Persephone. Now all of these represent Stardom, CMLL, AEW, and Ring of Honor by way of AEW. And my notes is that this match was all over the place. I wish that these 4 women came together and they trained ahead of time and they had stories and they were all shown on Dynamite. But, you know, I'm not booking. And so by way of interference from Thekla, because Thekla came down with a bat, she had an interference. She was building up a story with Athena, and both of them managed to have that story play out in Stardom, which was really cool to see. But due to this interference, it allows Momo Watanabe to win the match and get a trophy. The second pre-show match was Sho and Kanemaru of House of Torture versus Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. This is for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. And man, you can hear a pin drop when both Dustin and Sammy Guevara come out. And I can't believe that in 2025, Sammy Guevara looks like a rookie. I couldn't believe it. It's like you come out looking like a rookie. In the earlier days of AEW in 2019, when Sammy would come out, he looked like $1 million. He was so confident. And then now he comes out with Dustin and he looks like a rookie, as if like this is year 1 of his match and all this kind of stuff. That's how it feels. That's how it translated to. Now, during this match was okay. Again, it would have been nice if they could have flown Sho and Kanemaru out so that way they could get some reps in with Dustin and Sammy if this was going to be the plan. Because again, AEW, all they know how to do is hot shot booking and hot shot matches, because nobody thinks over there. They don't think. They don't understand wrestling. They really don't. So anyway, during this match, there were some spots. Dustin ends up taking the whiskey bottle that Kanemaru has and takes a sip and spits it out into Kanemaru's face, and they end up winning 1-2-3. And the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship titles remain and stay with Dustin and Sammy. Of course, somebody on the internet have to be like, oh, I hope that wasn't real whiskey, because Dustin Rhodes has been sober for 16 years, give or take. And Dustin said, no, it was apple juice. And it's like, you know, it's all for the show. Like, he wouldn't do something that would put him in jeopardy of losing all those years. Then we had this Lucha Gauntlet match that showcased the CMLL guys along with the New Japan guys. And So basically from CMLL, we had Hechiseto, Sombrero Jr., Dorada, Teton. From New Japan Pro Wrestling, we had Kosei Fujita. He's a champion. He didn't need to be in here. Master Wato is great to see him back. Taiji Ishimori is also great to see him back. And El Desperado, who's also a champion. And Taiji gets the win in a pin clutch because nobody knew what the fuck was going on in this match. Tanahashi versus Shibata in a special match exhibition. That was disappointing to me. The next match, Monet versus Mina. which was a winner take all. That was disappointing, and that was a bullshit win. Your winner is Mercedes Moné that has all the belts for no reason at all. The next match was David Finlay versus Brody King. I need someone in the comments, whether it is here on Spotify or even youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. Please try to change my perspective or give me a perspective or tell me exactly who Brody King is supposed to be other than a big guy that could do power moves, and that's about it. Because that's all I know him as. There's nothing that strikes me as him being an interesting wrestler to really get behind. So I just need someone to let me know, what am I missing about Brody King? First of all, I didn't like the fact that David Finlay was like, I'm going to do an open challenge. And then Brody King comes in to accept the challenge. And even though the story was that they used to know each other and used to like wrestle each other or be tag team partners, whatever it was alluded to, it's still like, that's not good enough. That really isn't. And this is what I mean of hot shot booking, where you're just like, it's an open challenge. If it's an open challenge, it's an open challenge. It doesn't need a story, but to try to create a story for it, like, no one really is going to care that far back into the past. And then also, Brody King got no reaction during Wrestle Dynasty. No reaction at all. And for some reason, I don't understand why his gear is a full, complete ski mask and a puffer jacket. And what is that supposed to mean or symbolize? Why is he coming down in that type of gear? Because essentially it looks like he could rob somebody. And that's the last thing that you want people to have in their minds, because you know that's the first thing they're going to think about, depending on the environment that they grew up in and like what they're known to see. But what is the point of his ring gear? And what am I missing from him? Because again, he could be big, bad, and have all this power, but I'm not intimidated. I'm not like, oh shit, yeah, you gotta watch out. I'm really not. With David Finlay, I could be like, oh, don't fuck with him, because it comes through no matter what. Like, David Finlay means business. I'm not gonna be like, oh nah, he doesn't mean it. No, he fucking does mean it. He's intimidating. So see, there's a difference there where I could be like, you know, I could tell the difference. But if someone in the comments can tell me in a very civil manner about what am I missing about Brody King, please do so. So yeah, it was a hard-hitting match from both of these guys, but in the end, David Finlay manages to do a powerbomb to Brody King, then the finisher, and then the pin, 1, 2, 3, and David Finlay wins. The next match is Claudio Castagnoli versus Shota Umino. This was a boring match because Claudio does the same thing, and Claudio got no reaction during Wrestle Dynasty. And I am glad that Shota Umino won the match, because Shota Umino, again, has to go through the minions of the Death Riders, which is ridiculous because that's the same playbook that MJF does. And it's like, where's their new storytelling? I need new writers. I need new story thinkers, but nobody at AEW Creative can think outside the box. This is why you need to hire somebody with a creative writing degree. I have a creative writing degree, and I'm available. So, Shota Umino wins, which is a good thing. And then now look at him. He's not doing anything except still being in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Him beating Claudio Castagnoli should have sent him to AEW for like an excursion. Let's just call it an excursion. That win should have brought him over to AEW, and Shota should just be the one to defeat Jon Moxley. But he has to defeat everybody else too. Like, Shota needs to defeat Jon Moxley to get rid of the mentorship of Jon Moxley, and then also maybe even take on Tanahashi and defeat that side too, so that way the two conflicting personalities of Tanahashi and Jon Moxley can leave Shota Umino for Shota Umino to finally become who Shota Umino is always meant to be. And that's something for him to figure out on his journey. But he has to shed both Jon Moxley, who should never be a mentor to anybody, and Tanahashi, who is the ace, and Shota should find his own path. The next match is Konosuke versus Ishii. Konosuke wins and retains the Never Openweight Championship title. Next match. The next match is the triple threat match of the IWGP World Tag Team Championships, which are won by the Young Bucks because the Young Bucks can't do anything else other than try to go back and win belts that are not theirs, that shouldn't be theirs, and they burned the bridge in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they went into business for themselves, but they're still here because they're friends with everybody. When you're friends with everybody, it's hard to say no to them. And they always do the same spots at the same time in the same flippy way that they do, and they don't want to adapt to anybody else's wrestling style. Everyone else has to adapt to their style, and that's very bad business and bad business practices. So, just so you know, if you want to know where the Young Bucks are, if you're not watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Young Bucks will be on New Japan programming on February 11th. The next match is Tsuji versus Jack Perry. Both of these guys are good no matter what. This is for the Global Heavyweight Championship title. I'm not even sure if Jack Perry is still in House of Torture. The last time that they spoke about this to build up the story is that Jack Perry wants to bring Tsuji over to the dark side. Why would you want Tsuji in House of Torture? It makes no sense. You know, it really didn't. This was an okay match, good match. Tsuji wins, retains the title. The next match is Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega. The winner to this is Kenny Omega. This was the match that got Chris Charlton unfairly suspended. I will say this, I did not like the buildup of this match because it was stupid. The buildup was absolutely stupid. And again, this is what AEW does. They create these dream matches, hotshot these dream matches. Well, by the way, this dream match did not need to happen at all. Like, Kenny Omega needs to stay far away from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, there's no point. There wasn't no point. There really wasn't. The match itself delivered. Gabe Kidd delivered 100%. Kenny Omega delivered 100%. And it was a really nice story. Now, this match is going to get special treatment. It's going to get special treatment because it is going to be under the Tape Study Chatter banner. So what that means is that I'm going to be reacting to this video similar to what Stevie Richards does on his show when he talks about wrestling and breaks down wrestling moves and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to be focusing on breaking down wrestling moves, breaking down psychology, giving you guys insight of what I can here and there. And that video will be up on Spotify, maybe YouTube, and also my Substack, marieshadows.substack.com. Again, it's for educational purposes because I just love talking about wrestling and helping wrestling improve, including storytelling and pointing out the things that have done correctly, that are done correctly. So that's going to be for that. Now, for the match itself, it was good. It delivered, like I said. And I still don't think that Kenny was the right person to win. I don't think we needed this match. There was no point for it. But as an introduction for Kenny Omega to come back into New Japan Pro Wrestling, again, where is he? He didn't show up the next day. This is why sometimes winning doesn't really help in this situation. Because you want to know who shows up the next day? Gabe Kidd from Bullet Club War Dogs. He's the one that shows up every single day for the entire year of New Japan Pro Wrestling, busting his ass, and he's currently feuding with Tsuji right now. And it's like, where the fuck is Kenny? Kenny, where are you? You won the match. You wanted to be like, I'm home, New Japan Pro Wrestling, accept me back with open arms. But you went back to AEW because you had unfinished business over at AEW. So what was the point of having this match with Gabriel Kidd? Huh? What's the point? The last match, which is Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet for the IWGP Championship title match. And people were telling me it is not for the championship match and that it's not going to be on Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty, same thing for no reason. It's the same thing. Wrestle Kingdom really did better than Wrestle Dynasty. But the winner is Zack Sabre Jr. And Zack Sabre Jr. exposed Ricochet because, again, this guy does not adapt to anything. Why do you still want to try to do the flippy stuff and try to be all fast and try to get the upper hand on Zack Sabre Jr. where you know he can ground you and clip your wings? Why do you still want to do the flippy stuff? Why have you not trained to adapt to other people's style? So I am glad that Zack Sabre Jr. won and Zack Sabre Jr. actually exposed him, because how is Ricochet ever going to get better and actually be the wrestler that he says he's going to be if he's not training, if he's not adapting, if he's not trying to do different kinds of things other than the high flying stuff, you know? And that completes both of my reviews for Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty for January 4th and January 5th of 2025. And even before that, for Wrestle Kingdom week, they had Stardom. They had 3 shows that week, plus New Year's Dash. So a total of 4 shows that week. And it's like, man, you guys really weared your fans very, very thin. It's not like here in the United States where we can do that. We have the energy to do that. And sometimes we have the money to do that. But damn, to expect that for Japan when Japan is somewhat struggling is sort of a lot to ask. And that's why maybe next year, New Japan Pro Wrestling should definitely get rid of the partnership with AEW. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this episode, by all means, please share it out. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Remember that this episode is sponsored by you guys, the fans, the viewers, the listeners. Thank you for all the follows on Spotify. Thank you for listening to the Square Circle podcast around the world. And also thank you to everyone that has liked, subscribed, and shared this video and this podcast episode on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. And thank you guys for signing up to marieshadows.substack.com, which is the wrestling newsletter where you get extra content that is not on the podcast or the live streams itself. And also make sure that you are joining the Discord Shadows Den, where we talk about professional wrestling and we talk about games and we talk about writing. And I also give you updates if I ever take a long break just to re-energize myself and focus on different types of things. Make sure to follow the Instagram channel, where that's going to be more for tape study series and inside the locker room and videos and breakdowns and social media tips. I would love to have you guys on this journey with me, no matter what, no matter where you decide to support me. And I would be very, very grateful. You are always welcome to leave a comment on both youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast and or the Spotify. And then also my fourth wall will be down in the description below. Fourth wall is very similar to Patreon. I enjoy fourth wall a lot more because I can have a mixture of my merchandise, and also memberships are also available right now on fourth wall at the same time. And they don't take as much fees as Patreon does. And I'm able to upload videos onto there too if anything happens via YouTube and copyright strikes and all that kind of stuff. So just be on the lookout. There's a lot of options for you guys, and that's what I like. I like giving you guys a lot of options. Also, the Wrestling Planner, One More Match 2025, the Wrestling Planner is available now on Barnes & Nobles. That link will be down in the description below. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to an episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.